Hello. In the following example, which is example 6 in 2.7, we need to graph y equals -2 times x plus 2 squared plus 1. In order to graph this, we need to understand what the parent function is. In this case, this graph will be a quadratic. In other words, it's a parabola. The parent function for all parabolas is y equals x squared. We can write down the parent table for y equals x squared. The x values are all -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. And whenever you square all those, you get 9, 4, 1, 0, 1, 4, and 9. Now, working left to right here, the first thing I come across is -2. Because the -2 is on the outside of the parentheses, that means that it affects the y values, because it's not directly associated with the x. Therefore, this -2, we need to do what it says. This says -2 times something. And because of that, that means we need to multiply the y value by -2. Now, whenever we do that, that would effectively give us the equation y equals -2x squared. And its table comes from the previous one. The difference is that the y values will change, so the x's will stay the same. So we still have -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3. But the y values I multiply by -2. So 9 times -2 is -18. 4 times -2 is -8. 1 times -2 is -2. 0 times -2 is 0. And so on and so forth. Now then, we need to keep going left to right there. And the next thing we come across is a +2. Now, this +2, well, let me go ahead and write it down here. We have -2 times x plus 2 squared. This +2 here is on the inside of the parentheses. Therefore, it's directly associated with the x, which means it affects the x value. And again, because it affects the x value, we do the opposite of what it says. So it says +2, therefore we subtract 2. In other words, we want to subtract 2 from the x values. And that'll give us a new table. Now, because the x values change, the y values from this previous table here stay the same. So that still gives me -18, -8, -2, 0, -2, -8, and -18. Now we do what it says. -3 subtract 2. So that means -3 minus 2, which is -5. -2 minus 2 is -4. -1 minus 2 is -3. And you just keep doing this the entire way. Now then, this is where a lot of people would go to next, that squared term. That's a problem because that squared term is already right here, which means it was already accounted for in the parent function. Therefore, you don't need to worry about it. What we do need to worry about, however, is this +1. Now the +1 is outside, and let me just go ahead and write it down here. So y equals -2 times x plus 2 squared plus 1. It's on the outside of the parentheses, which means that it affects the y value. And since it affects the y value, I do what it says, and it says add 1. Therefore, I'm going to add 1 to the y values. And that'll make it to where I can do an XY table. I'm going to do it right here, just so I'll have enough room, hopefully. Yeah, probably won't. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Now, because it affects the y values, that means that the x values all stay the same. So I still have -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, and 1. But all of these y values, I need to add 1 to them. So -18, add 1. So -18 plus 1 is -17. -8 plus 1 is -7. -2 plus 1 is -1. 0 plus 1 is 1. -2 plus 1 is -1. -8 plus 1 is -7. And -18 plus 1 is -17. And there we go. We have just created the final table that we need in order to graph this function. Notice that here -5, -17, and 1 -17 won't really fit on this graph. At least it won't unless we go by a scale of 2. However, I don't want to do that, so I can just graph these middle ones, and I'll still be able to see what this graph is doing. So I'm going to graph -4, 1, 2, 3, 4, -7. Then I graph -3, -1. Then -2, 1. -1, -1. And 0, -7. There you go. You should be able to see that parabola there. Be sure to draw this using some sort of parabola. And try not to make this a sharp V here, because sharp curves really only occur for stuff like the absolute value of x. So just be careful about that. And there you go. This is y equals -2 times x plus 2 squared plus 1.